My name is I'm with the Toronto Forum on Cuba. Comrades, friends, here. So we truly could thank you and appreciate all the assistance and help that you brought forth to have this glorious victory for the Cuban Revolution, for humanity. And I'm always afraid of talking too much, but please let me have a few words about the significance of this amazing victory for the Cuban Revolution. First of our statements about this great victory is at the table up front on the Toronto Forum on Cuba table. We put some around. That's been a struggle of the Cuban Revolution for its sovereignty, for a prosperous and sustainable socialism continues, and we need all your support. All I want to say is, I better put it in a little bit of a poetry that since Wednesday I have been maybe working on it, because it was such a glorious day that same day in the city of Toronto. Folks from the Latin American community and other friends were paying homage to Hugo Chavez Frias and also Simon Bolivar, and automatically became a celebration for this victory of the Cuban Revolution. All I want to say is the imperialists are not in the position that they were, if I not to go back too far, at least in 1967, when they not only were able to murder Che, chop off his hands, not only him, but also his followers. Those days are gone. We are in a better situation. We have been able to bring 5 true followers of Ernesto Che Guevara from the mouth of the imperialist dungeons home safe with their nation. And the Cuban Revolution is stronger today, as Fidel Castro stated in 1997, 30 years after the remains of Che and his comrades were brought to Cuba. He called them reinforcement brigades of the Cuban Revolution. And the coming home of the Cuban Five are just another reinforcement of the Cuban Revolution that released so much energy in the streets of Havana, throughout Cuba, in Latin America and the world, and that's why we are here today and celebrating that reinforcement of the Cuban Revolution. What we have been through all these 60 years is a lot. But I put this poem together, hopefully it makes sense. I cried when I heard the voice of Gloria La Riva telling us about the struggle of the Cuban Five back in 2002 in Vincent. I cried when it was a storm, 5 o'clock in the morning, listening to Arabic music, thinking about my mother, who was saying, I cry for you, my son, far away. But you go to Cuba, you talk about Cuban Five. I cried not the day that I hugged Yvette, who was only a little child, now is a grown-up woman. But I cried when I saw the children of Cuba singing songs in solidarity with the Cuban Five in Romerias Camayo Cultural Festival in Holguin. And my cries have not been in vain, because in 1968, in the anniversary of Che, when all of Bolivia came together, it was a cry of victory, just like the cry of Yara for the independence of Cuba, just the cry of Jose Marti when he said, homeland is humanity. And thank you, Fidel, that so prophetically in 2001 you have stated they will return, and they have returned. Thank you all for being here with the Cuban national anthem, international anthem, words of Raúl Castro and the homecoming of the Cuban Five, and the Cuban Consul General, Honorable Consul Javier Doncos will have his words with us, and then we have our amazing cultural presentations from friends who have been with us from day one in this struggle. Some of them are unfortunately not in town, just like some other friends who have fallen down with flu or have already been out of town. So it's an amazing program. We have the best of saxophone players, African rhythms and so on. And this is going to be setting the stage to get us stronger and use this experience that brought us together to bring the Cuban Five home, to go forward and help the Cuban Revolution to go forward and attack this economic blockade imposed on Cuba for the past 54 plus years. Thank you very much.
El sonido a las almas valientes correr.
Compatriotas, desde mi elección como presidente de los consejos de Estado y de ministros, he reiterado en múltiples ocasiones nuestra disposición a sostener con el gobierno de los Estados Unidos un diálogo respetuoso, resultado de un diálogo al más alto nivel que incluyó una conversación telefónica que sostuve ayer con el presidente Barack Obama. Se ha podido avanzar en la solución de algunos temas de interés para ambas naciones. Como prometió Fidel en junio del 2001, cuando dijo volverán, arribaron hoy a nuestra patria Gerardo, Ramón y Antonio. La enorme alegría de sus familiares y de todo nuestro pueblo se extiende entre los cientos de comités y grupos de solidaridad, los gobiernos, parlamentos, organizaciones, instituciones y personalidades que durante estos 16 años reclamaron e hicieron denodados esfuerzos por su liberación. A todos ellos expresamos la más profunda gratitud y compromiso. Esta decisión del presidente Obama merece el respeto y reconocimiento de nuestro pueblo. Quiero agradecer y reconocer el apoyo del Vaticano y especialmente del Papa Francisco al mejoramiento de las relaciones entre Cuba y Estados Unidos. Igualmente al gobierno de Canadá por las facilidades creadas para la realización del diálogo de alto nivel entre los dos países. A su vez, decidimos excarcelar y enviar a Estados Unidos a un espía de origen cubano que estuvo al servicio de esa nación. Por otra parte, basados en razones humanitarias, hoy también fue devuelto a su país el ciudadano norteamericano Alan Gorosky.
General Javier Donovan.
Well, I don't know how many difficult speeches I will have in my life, but this is a very difficult one. Cubans, we still don't put ourselves up to this wonderful news. You've been following the events. There was, we are listening now, we watched it on 17th. It was a historic announcement, a very important day for Cuba, for Latin America, and for the rest of the world, of course. But as a Cuban, I have to confess to you that we are still shocked with the idea of having the five in Cuba. We are living through many emotions, like you are watching them arriving to Cuba, and all of a sudden you see Adriana Perez that is pregnant, and you see Gerardo last night saying it's going to be a baby girl that is going to be Gema, and you see the families united. You see the Cuban people on the streets by themselves. Nobody telling them anything. It was very spontaneous gathering of the population, of the people, the happiness of the Cuban people. You see that the concert of Silvio Rodriguez, which was something that was planned. What was not planned was that the Cuban Five were going to be in Cuba, and they were going to be together with the Silvio on that moment. It's a moment for the Cubans of reaffirming our convictions, our ideas, and it's a very special moment. Of course, there are many things that we have to see on this process. First, the idea that, and the continued message to Fidel. Fidel was is the leader of the Cuban Revolution, but is the one that has taught us many lessons about how to conduct our revolution. The first of all is that we learn to believe them. And Fidel's promise that they will come back, and the five, they are back to Cuba. And this is something that bring a lot of strength to the Cuban people. Secondly, there are a lot of recounting of things that happened during the revolution, and the five, all of them, and all of us Cubans, we have the memories of what happened during the process of the revolution. Most of you know that when the grandma was coming from Mexico to Cuba, one of the guys on board, he fell off the yacht, and they stopped and they started looking for the guy for more than 45 minutes, and that put in danger the arrival of grandma to Cuba. But Fidel said that we cannot leave any one of the Cubans behind. And this is one very important message of the Cuban Revolution. The Cuban Revolution have never forgotten or left behind anybody. And that's a very important concept of unity and the strength of the Cuban Revolution. I don't know if you have followed the news. You see the message. Raúl spoke yesterday to the National Assembly, and in a very important place of the message, it is the recognition of and the gratitude of Cuba to each of the people that have supported and have contributed to the return of the Cuban Five. And I think that it is my great honor to bring the words of my president, and on behalf of the Cuban people, to thank you for all the support you have given us on not only the return of the Cuban Five, but in the 56 years of Cuban Revolution, and a very successful Cuban Revolution. Thank you very much. I want to share, even if we heard from Raúl, but I want to share my thoughts on Raúl's message. First, where there has been a very overwhelming reaction, not only in Toronto, especially in Latin America and in the rest of the world. But we cannot turn a blank eye on what is happening. It's a victory for the Cuban Revolution, but Raúl made a very clear statement on we haven't ceded any single inch to Cuban sovereignty. We have not renounced to our principle, so Cuba has not given up to its principle. Our sovereignty and independence and right to self-determination is intact. And this is a very important message for our friends, but also for the Cuban Revolution. How important has been the resistance and how important has been for us this victory, because it's another guarantee that our model is the one that we choose and is proven its conviction, and the resistance of the Cuban now has a price. So we won because we resist and we are united. We announced to re-establish relations with the US, but we cannot forget that this is a long-standing process. It's not going to end tomorrow, maybe it's never going to end. Raúl says we still have a lot of difficulties and issues in which we don't agree, and maybe we will never agree. But as labor, we have to live in harmony. It has been the message during Fidel's term, now during Raúl. There's no issue why we cannot live as we live with the rest of the world, respecting each other under the international agreements for bilateral relations. But we have issues in which we are not agree. We don't agree in issues like sovereignty, human rights, even the way in which we are pushing forward Latin America. Simple for them, simple for all very important issues like how we see the unity of Latin America, how do we see the international solidarity. So there are some people that says they have different analysis on what we did, but I think it's a very important and strategic decision, but it's going to still be a very long-standing issue. Very soon on Raúl's message, he says that we have stand loyal to those who fought for Cuban independence. So this is a very clear message for me as a Cuban, and I want to convey to you. Cubans, we are not going to forget to those that have fought and shed their blood for what we are enjoying today, for the independence and the freedom we are enjoying. So we are not going to sacrifice them to please the US. And this is a very important message too. I think that all of you that express solidarity with Cuba has to be, we have to be on the same page of recognizing how brave and bold Obama was. And I think the decision of Obama, as President Raúl says, deserves respect. But deserve respect, and I think from now on will deserve support. You have seen the international reaction of support, but inside the US there are many forces that want to attack him on this decision. So last night Raúl was saying that we are also going to contribute on our own in the way we are going to go to the negotiations, not to be naive and put more pressure on Obama. And I think there's a process that starts now in which we all have to be very careful on not supporting our enemies, harming Obama in this very important decision. And I want to close that saying that now another page is going to be open. Many challenges for Cubans, but Raúl was very clear, and this message was also mentioned by Raúl last night. The solidarity to Cuba is still needed, because the major obstacle for Cuba is still alive, that is the blockade. The American blockade against Cuba is alive and is stronger than ever. So we still have to fight to create conscience in the American people that the blockade has to end. Obama doesn't have the power to put an end, but we all, with the American people, have the power to put an end to the blockade with the resistance and the unity that has brought together to this point with the Cubans and the rest of our friends. Thank you very much. Thank you for this day and for the support of Cuba. Thank you.
por haberme invitado a esta celebración muy especial. Es un honor estar aquí. Me gustaría jugar para ustedes la internacional. This next song might sound like it's borrowing a slogan that was used by President Obama in his first election campaign, but actually, as most of you know, it was an anthem of the civil rights struggle composed by the great singer, African-American soul singer Sam Cooke in 1964 called A Change is Gonna Come, and we're struggling for more and more progressive change. So this is change is going to come.
Thank you, brothers and sisters. As Morteza said, we've been called from a while already for our solidarity and support for the Cuban Five. So for us, it's a huge victory to be here now that it's been freed. And I think it's a huge victory for all of us. So please make some noise for yourselves. We're going to celebrate with a little bit of Afro-Colombian music. This is Afro-Colombian folklore. And then we're also going to mix it in with some Afro-Cuban chants at the end. suelto, tacara. Tacara, voy suelto, tacara. Todo el mundo. Tacara, voy suelto, tacara. Tacara, voy suelto, tacara. Voy suelto. 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 Voy suelto.
On behalf of myself, but also on behalf of the comrades from Ireland, 2 political prisoners, the Cree Gavin just texted me on my phone to someone else, and they want JP Wooten and Brendan McConville, and they want to send their solidarity to the normalization of Cuban relations and also to the freedom of the tribe.
From the Guerrilla, an organization that discusses issues related to Africa. And here is Brother
I woke up this morning and was very well. I did one, and then I decided to come here to Toronto from Sarah, and I decided I would be sad not to hear some African voices here, standing here and then expressing their solidarity to the Cuban people. With the most recent crisis, the health crisis of Ebola, we have seen the state of Cuba is very different from other positions that were taken by the United States, who decided to send Ebola crisis countries 3,000 military soldiers. In opposition to that, the Cuban people have decided to send what was needed the most, which is health specialists and health doctors to help the African people who go through this. That is just a continuation of the stand of Cuba in relation to Africa, because everybody knows that from the beginning, from the defeat of the white South African army in Quito Carnaval.
Without further ado, Ernesto Espino.
Cual solamente puede ser libre en esta tierra, en este instante, y soy feliz porque soy gigante. A una mujer clara me amo y me ama sin pedir nada o casi nada, que no es lo mismo, no es igual. Y si esto fuera poco, tengo mis cantos que poco a poco voy logrando habitando el tiempo, como lenguaje un hombre despierto. Soy feliz, soy un hombre feliz y quiero que me perdone por este día los muertos de mi felicidad. Tengo mis cantos que poco a poco vuelven habitando el tiempo, como de cuadro un hombre despierto. Soy feliz, soy un hombre feliz y quiero que me perdonen por este día los muertos de mi felicidad. Por este día los muertos de mi felicidad. Gracias, ¡viva Cuba! Hace una semana estuvimos haciendo un concierto para liberar a los 5. Juan Ismael de la Torre. Y una semana después, aquí estamos celebrándolo. Y un temita, queremos hacer un temita que cantaban los 5. Una canción de Silvio. Más alto y menos viejo, está por sí mismo. Allá lejos, allá trepando el dulce abismo. Allá lejos, allá trepando el dulce abismo. Se para el dulce abismo.
habitación, la queja, la cocina, el desayuno, el movimiento de los seres queridos. No queremos una limosna, nunca un privilegio, ni 2, ni 3, ni 4, tampoco 5. Sería sentar golpeando pisos lustrados y tambores la velocidad de una flecha lanzada con certera puntería, directa a la cabeza alucinada. Cae bien organizada, nuevos tragos fatales de las guerras de rapilla, ocupaciones. Por el mundo anduve los enfermeras, resuelven, trabajadores sociales, conciencias solidarias, y se preguntan, ¿qué pasa? Y yo respondo, ahí está Fidel, y no pudieron con él. Nacen líderes inconfundibles, Hugo Chávez, Evo Morales, Rafael Correa, y ahí está Fidel con su enfoque revolucionario, y están ellos y nosotros y todos luchando, acompañando, marchando, diciendo: basta ya, justicia, igualdad, libertad de los indios, país tras país. Y están ellos y nosotros y todos luchando, acompañando, marchando, diciendo: notas, ruido vigente, como un lamento de odio sumergido, aplastado por las multitudes. Volverán, profetizó Fidel, y volvieron con la frente en alto, la dignidad incólume. Fue dura la lucha, no lo duden. Ella tomó vigor de primavera en primavera, se hizo luz meridiana en las conciencias dormidas, despertó con lentitud, levantó telarañas, como cuando el niño Ilio González regresó a
Manny
Cuba.
Brooker and Ruben, Dr. Ruben, please get us going. We're gonna have, I have no choice, I'm telling you, maybe in the middle of the dance, it's when we do rumba. Jose Castro Pozo has a poem, and William has a poem about Cuba. So,
Y 5 dedos en el puño cubano. Es invencible el país de la alegría. Nace el día en claridad solemne y las sombras se retiran despertándose. Sobre las olas del mar Caribe, el azul es metálico en tono de acero que se agita vital. Es señorial espectáculo que alumbra el blanco radiante, un himno de ternura ejemplar, que recuerda al ser humano la velocidad de la luz en el destino de la especie efímera.